All right, hi, Paul Slackis, Good News Broadcast, Good News Planet, and Pause the World for Peace. And talking about peace, we don't have peace when we get ill. Health and wellness is what it's all about. And we're going to talk about the flu season, of which we're all under, I guess, right now. I don't know why we're under it now and not under it on other times or all year long. Maybe our wonderful doctor here, but we're going to talk about flu season is here. Are you ready? This is the peak of the season. And I think it's important. I'm a believer in the flu shot. We have Dr. Ravi Jahaveri. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, your division head, infectious disease, Virginia H. Rogers Professor in infectious diseases and Professor of Pediatrics and infectious disease, Northwestern University School of Medicine. What are you in Chicago?
In Chicago. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, what, 6 feet of snow already? What's going on?
Not 6 feet. We had a little bit of frost. Halloween was a few snowflakes for the kids, but we're a pretty hardy group, so we managed well.
All right, and we get your weather. I'm in New York a day or so after, so thank you for that. But the flu. Let's discuss the flu. What is the flu? What does the FLU stand for, actually? What is flu?
Okay, so flu is short for influenza. It's a common virus that, as you mentioned, comes every season. Just to get to one of the points you made, flu season comes during colder weather because it's more easily transmitted. And so as we think about planning for the upcoming Thanksgiving and winter holidays, we think about how flu season tends to really expand when people get together with the travel and the big groups. And so we want people to plan ahead as we are thinking about the upcoming holidays.
Well, why colder? Why? Is there a certain reason?
Actually, yeah, it's really interesting. It has to do with the way the flu is transmitted and how it's stable in air and droplets. And so the cold, dry air tends to favor the virus transmitting from person to person. And so that's the real reason why. If you're in a warm and humid environment, the flu doesn't transmit as well. And so that's why tropical areas don't really have the seasons that, let's say, we in the colder areas of the world have it.
Now, people, recommend, and many take it, and some don't. A flu shot. I'm a believer. Every year I get the flu shot, and so on. I have friends that don't take the flu shot. Is there a concern for taking a flu shot? Should somebody not get it? Is there an age limit? Is it male, female? Who should take and who shouldn't?
So the question is really easy. There's a flu vaccine for everyone who is 6 months and older. Okay, so we recommend it for everyone, whether you're healthy, whether you have pre-existing conditions, everybody should get some kind of flu vaccine. And the important message that I like to offer people is that there are lots of options. And so people may have preferences or beliefs or values that lend themselves to one option or another. But there's the flu shot, as you mentioned, which is the needle injection. But there also is the needle-free option. And so I'm actually here partnering with AstraZeneca to talk about, to raise awareness about this needle-free option. It's called Flumist Quadrivalent, and it's the first and only nasal spray flu vaccine. It's FDA approved for patients 2 to 49 years of age. So a big chunk of our population could get it. And so I would encourage everyone to speak to their healthcare providers to determine which of those options is best for them.
So let me go back to all the different options. So a
Sure.
flu vaccine or spray, is it the same? How do they do? I know tell me if I'm wrong. I'm always told that each year somebody, in quotes, comes up with some thought of what is going to be the most prevalent concern for the season. Now, then they take some kind of a mixture. No, then they, how does a flu, what is it actually? And is it the same for a 6-month-year-old and I'll say a young senior?
Yeah, sure. So let me try to address that first issue. So the somebody you reference is actually major public health authorities around the world that meet and compare notes about the prior flu season, look at what flu strains were circulating, and then they will tweak or decide what strains to include in the vaccine to protect for the next upcoming year. And so that requires a lot of partnership and communication. And so once that decision is made by the public health teams around the world, the companies that make the different versions of vaccine all use those same strains. And then they make their version of the vaccine. So some vaccines are made on eggs, some are made on culture cells in the lab, some are killed components of the virus, some are the live weakened forms of the virus, some are have sort of added immune boosters, particularly, let's say, for those who are in the sort of senior age categories. And so there's a lot of different versions, but the base components are all the same with all of them. And so in general, for the broad population, they're getting effectively the same vaccine, just with slightly different tweaks.
Uh-huh. So you're saying to me, because this I'm good news broadcast, so I'm always happy to hear. Good. So you're saying that there's some coordination between this whole place somehow. I mean, this is good news. Because flu is the same here as it is in the Far East. Flu is flu.
In general, yes. Sometimes we'll see different strains that circulate. There are multiple strains that might circulate in a season, so we might have more of one, and other countries, in whether it's the Far East or in the Southern Hemisphere, might have ones that circulate a little bit different at a different time. But in general, there is a pattern that sort of moves from Northern Hemisphere to Southern Hemisphere and back to the Northern. And so based on those patterns and based on history, the public health teams around the world will coordinate with the companies to try to come up with the best options to help protect the population around the world.
Tell me about the spray. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's really as simple as it sounds. It's a nasal spray that you can give without a needle. For any of us that have taken nasal spray for allergies or the like, it's very similar to that. You put half on one side of your nose, half on the other, and it doesn't really hurt, but I often tell people that it feels a little bit funny, but it's included as an equal option in terms of flu vaccines in the CDC recommendations. And so I would encourage people who are a little bit squeamish about needles that this is a great option for them to get their flu vaccine.
And is it sold over the counter? Or how does it get?
It's not over the counter. Yeah, it's not over the counter. You have to talk to your healthcare provider or pharmacist, but I would encourage you to visit findflumist.com. And as you think about planning for this upcoming flu season or the one that's just starting now, and as you plan for the holidays, this would be a great time for you to think about it.
You know, there's some commentary about taking a flu. I'll go back to the shot, probably. So there's COVID out there. There's this RSV. There's the flu. Can you take? Let's start with that simple question. Should you take the flu shot and a COVID shot at the same time? Let's use that right now.
Yeah, so the current guidance is you can, and certainly as we all think about our valuable time, the idea of coordinating visits with our doctor, with the pharmacist to get multiple vaccines at the same time is really important. It makes our lives easier and able to manage. So yes, the current guidance is you can get them at the same time, and I would encourage it just because it makes sense.
Let me ask you another question, just because there's so many people that I don't have one. I have this, it looks like a dog, a real dog. People think it's a dog, but it's not a real dog. Do animals get the flu?
So there are certain types of flu that actually can be spread to animals. So the flu, influenza A, can be spread amongst birds and pigs and other animals. That's one that's transmissible. The other types of flu, no. But we tend the virus will spread differently in animals, and so it's not necessarily a people to animal spread. So you shouldn't be worried that you're going to get flu from your dog. You should be worried that you're going to get flu from your family member, your neighbor, a coworker, or the like. And so again, thinking about getting the flu vaccine to protect you from in all those circumstances, really the best way to cover your bases.
Disinfectant, do you get one of these disinfectant? You spray the house or you spray the actual counter, or if you sprayed a house, is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, what I would say is I think, again, the common sense measures that we've all learned in the pandemic, things like washing your hands. If you're sick, you can wear a mask or stay away from others. And likewise, if you're around other people who are sick, you certainly can empower yourself by wearing a mask. There's no problem with wiping down surfaces, but I often talk to my patients and families how you don't want to go overboard. Just common sense precautions about protecting yourself.
How easily is it? Are you able to catch it from somebody else? Can you catch it from your mate? Can you catch it from your kids? How easy does flu, move on?
Um, it's certainly contagious. It's not the worst, but it's also one that certainly we know can spread efficiently to lots of people. And so again, thinking about protecting yourself, and again, some of the common sense measures we've talked about, washing your hands, and planning ahead with your flu vaccine.
I don't know I don't have the number in front of me, but I know I've done other flu stories. It's a serious number that people that pass away from the flu. Isn't that true? Somewhere I hear or remember something like 150,000. I mean, it's a serious subject we're talking
It's
about.
absolutely, the deaths that are directly due to flu are in the hundreds of thousands each year. And I think when you think about the indirect deaths that happen with heart attacks or strokes or other complications that come, or other bacterial infections that come after flu, that number gets into the potentially the several hundreds of thousands. But I really appreciate talking to you, and thanks for letting me join you.
And thank you for doing what you do, and especially with those pediatrics. We got to take care of those little kids. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye bye.